Welcome to the Galactic War development log. Uh, got not as much accomplished this month as last month, model-wise. I took a month off of designing STLs to paint some of the ones I'd already designed, because there's a lot of them. I didn't get nearly as many as I hoped to get done, uh, probably mostly because of burnout. I ended up taking about 2 weeks of, and the cat. She must have heard I was starting to record. Hey, you need to get out of the camera. Yeah, there you go. Uh, ended up taking about 2 weeks off and just doing nothing. And cat again. Okay, this time you're going. All right. She won't stay down. I did get 15 painted, like the Conqueror here. And I even named a lot of the ships. For instance, this New Jersey class ship is the Nebraska. That's one of the things that I will highly encourage, is that you name each and every one of your ships, and just for flavor and fun. Also, you can put the class of ship on the base too, just to help determine which ship is which ship. I didn't, because I can recognize them by sight, so I designed them. I know exactly what they look like. There's been a few developments rules-wise, however. I did a total rework of how the ship volleys work. In the previous edition, each weapon system had all four volleys, all four arcs listed for volleys. And that was just a lot of information on the page, so I just ended up changing it to a single volley stat, and to keep the same uniqueness that it brought to have the four of them on there, I developed certain traits that I could give the weapon to modify how the weapons fire out of every arc. For instance, you can have the super firing trait on the guns. You fire the same volleys out the front and back, but you get double out the port and starboard, because the weapons stack, right? Like this, and they can pivot like that. Usually mounted on the center line, but not always. If the weapon doesn't have any traits, it gets to fire the same number of volleys out of every arc, except for the port and starboard, which it will get +2 volleys. There's also been a total rework of armor done, and it was done just before this video was made, so it hasn't been tested yet. But, well, it actually has been tested. It's the old system, just with a new substat called hardness. I disliked the way the old one worked. It was very random as to whether or not you got your armor at all. Armor is just a solid stat now, right? It's, for instance, the Conqueror's armor is 24. It soaks 24 damage before anything goes onto the hull. This is much more reliable than the old system, because you will always soak 24. It can be reduced by interacting with the hardness. AP interacts with hardness, not only with the armor, because with the AP, it just straight up reduces your armor by the AP. And then that's how much damage you soak afterwards. But if you can beat the hardness with your AP, you get a dice. And for every additional 5 over top of the hardness that you get an additional dice. And then you roll all the dice together, and if you even score just 1 6, you will actually reduce the armor and the hardness, unless there's a rule that states that the hardness doesn't reduce, like on U&E ships. then it's much easier to penetrate the next shot, right? And this is done on a shot-for-shot basis. And it is, again, there's no randomness, there's no checking. It's just, this is what the stat is. This is what it does. This is how you interact with it. And that's the way, that's just the way it works. Also, this also makes beam weapons a lot more important than they used to be under the old system, because you can penetrate that hard armor a lot easier than you could have before. The size didn't change. It's still 2+ to hit it on the Conqueror. You have every chance of getting all 6 attacks, all 6 hits on the Conqueror, and having that possibility of reducing damage. The beams also, instead of getting +1 AP, which no longer is relevant, they get a multiplier to their AP, which is the way they used to work. And their AP is, I believe, 5 on the Phaser Lance. And you say you score 6 hits and the Conqueror fails to evade, that's 30 AP, because it's 6 times the 5 AP. It worked in 2nd edition, right? So it should work in 3rd, all things considering, because there's no other rules that actually interact with the AP or the armor that way. It also equalizes the way armor works compared to the way shields work. Shields just work based on hits, right? So shield defense just happens. If we use the old system, it's either armor succeeds almost all the time or none of the time, because it's completely random, right? And it's never going to work out evenly, because that's not the way chance works. And the new system will stop a reliable amount of the damage. Armor system has yet to be tested, of course. But like I said, it's the old system. It's got the previous way the armor used to work. Unfortunate part of these major changes that I have made means that the entirety of our playtesting has been, well, rendered null. On the plus side, the 3D files for the UNE are complete. Like, I have everything from the patrol ships up to the capital ships. I did delete all the patrol ships, frigates, and corvettes, of course, as I said previously, because they're just not fit. They don't fit the scale of the way the game is supposed to function. I have begun the Acorn STLs, and they are actually looking pretty bug-like. And there's a little bit of randomness in it, because each individual ship isn't going to look the same, because they are actually a genetic being. And to keep their DNA from degrading, from being copied over and over and over again, you have to have some kind of genetic variance by taking multiple pools of DNA to make that ship, because they're living ships. They're not mechanical. They don't get built. They get grown. It's really fascinating when you think about it, because their weapons are actually symbiotes with them. They get grown separately. A lot of their systems get grown separately, right? The only things that would be their, well, the equivalent of their power system, which is mostly just a giant digestive system. Their heart, which would distribute these nutrients and effectively power the ship. Each individual cell is responsible for its own power generation. So you don't have these giant reactors that the UNE has that could cause a fatal explosion. Although that mechanic is still in the game and they can still explode, it's just other reasons that they're exploding, right? They do have capacitors and stuff like that that do need to be charged from the cells around them, such as with the phaser lances. They require an exceedingly large amount of power. You can't just draw it from the surrounding cells. It actually has to charge that capacitor so the capacitor can discharge into the system and then fire the weapon. There's not much more to actually report, but I'm hopefully going to have a lot more next month, because I think it's going to take a little bit longer to draw these ships, the Aquarian ships, because they're all in segments, right? They're bugs. I took inspiration for the Oberon redesign from the Carboniferous centipede that was like 4 meters long. It's got a series of segments, and each segment is slightly different than the first one. They're not all 100% identical, and it's really hard to get it to sync up, I guess, with the previous one. But I'm getting there. I've got the top view already down, and I've started the side view. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing it. And I enjoy doing this. This is fun for me. I really enjoyed designing the STLs, even though I have to work in Blender, and Blender is a little tricky at times. Fortunately, it does have an industry standard control system for key bindings and stuff like that. So I do know a lot of the key bindings because I have a good deal of training in Maya for modeling and stuff like that. Other than that, I can think of nothing development-wise that's going on. For a little bit of lore and fluff that I can insert into the video, if I ever say something is classified, it's because the science doesn't exist, or I don't understand the science and have no inclination to learn. I have enough time. I have enough stuff to take up my time. I just will use science fiction handwavium to explain how something works. Like, for instance, the gravity fields. There's field manipulation physics in it, which doesn't exist. So handwavium. Making it go in one direction only, handwavium. Also, how it works as a weapon, handwavium, which, by the way, the UNE doesn't use because they're scared of it being used on them as well, even though the Aquarians don't actually have that level of technology as far as weapons are concerned. The only reason the humans have it is because of the Andromedan occupation. The Andromedans left a whole lot of weapons just lying around. Look at. And they took it, and in many cases they were able to reproduce it, and they ended up using it on themselves. But as far as this is, I can't think of anything else. My script here is actually quite small. It's only one page, and there's not a lot on it, unfortunately. So I will leave you for this month, and I will see you next month. Thank you for watching.